So, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kashvi Bansali. I appeared for CUET 2025 this year, and I got 955 in CUET. I also got 99.2% in my board exams, and I am here to tell you about how I studied for this exam, how I managed boards and CUET together, and uh, share my experience overall. So, firstly, I'd like to mention CUET mocks, which I started with their mocks initially in September, October, and they're a very good place to start your mocks. Their analysis is very, very helpful because they tell you exactly which questions you've done wrong, which ones have you left, what's the correct solution. So, it's genuinely quite helpful. And over and above that, Ashima ma'am, she was so helpful throughout the entire journey. I would call her multiple times asking her that, ma'am, what do I do? How do I do this? What do I fill in the preference sheet? So there's a lot of guidance that you can get from here. Now, to answer some of the burning questions related to CUET, whether you should take coaching or you should not take coaching. Now, I think this depends on your ability to be consistent on your own. So, if you are somebody who can be consistent, if you are somebody who can understand things on their own, then no coaching suits you really, really well. But if you're somebody who needs guided attention, you need somebody to teach you again and again and again, then looking for some coaching does make some sense. What happened for me personally was that initially I did join a coaching, and I attended that coaching for a week, and then I realized that it was quite slow and it was taking so much of my time. Every day after school, doing 2 hours of coaching, I didn't find any time for self study. And for me, self study was the one thing that was the most important. Apart from that, what the one thing that I have noticed is that coaching centers will only teach you on the basis of past patterns. But this is a very, very new exam, right? So what happens is that they will only teach you XYZ limited things. After a point, you have to go beyond what they are teaching and discover for yourself. For example, is this time in the economics exam, it was made particularly hard, and most coaching institutes just said leave these boxes, don't do this, because it never comes, but it came this time, right? So the one thing that you need to do is, once you are done, you have to go over and above yourself. That the coaching will not help you. Generally coachings don't help you. Now, coming to the topic of mocks, are mocks helpful? So in my personal opinion, mocks are super, super, super important and very helpful. I personally used to get up in the morning, and my morning time was reserved specifically for mock. And every day I would do 5 mocks in the last 1 month. I would do 5 mocks in the morning and 3 mocks in the evening, sometimes five in the evening. And the reason why mocks are so important is because they help you plan your paper very, very well. You can, you don't, and because this is something that you've already done before in the real exam, you don't feel as scared before. You don't feel as scared. Also, mocks can help you identify your weak points. What is something that you need work on? Which topic do you need work on? Are you forgetting details? You need to work on that. So mocks are very, very helpful for that. And that is something that everybody should definitely, definitely do. Now, coming to what I did, so now just to end the discussion, I'd just like to tell all of you what I did for the whole year. As so, in I'm from Bangalore, and here our year grade 12 starts in Jan for us. In January or February is when grade 12 starts. So the first thing I tell you all to focus on is your concept clarity. When you are preparing for boards throughout the year till September, focus solely on concept clarity. So, what I used to do personally for making sure my concepts were perfectly clear is every day we used to just do maybe 2 topics in class for every subject, right? So I used to come back and I used to do the same thing again. And I would just teach it to thin air. This is called Richard Payman's technique of active recall. So you just teach thin air. And then a week later on Sunday was specifically reserved for revision. So whatever I did throughout the week, I'd again do it on Sunday. And then after a month, when we used to have our review exams or half yearlies or whatever, I would again revise it. What happens when you revise again and again and again? The concept gets embedded in your mind really, really well. And when you are doing revision daily or weekly, try to make sure you're understanding what you're doing. The most important thing is understanding what you're doing, because CUET is an MCQ exam and it will essentially test your ability to understand things. Now, after September, So our portions generally got over around October, or end of October. So at the end of September, what I started doing was doing a lot of mocks every day in the morning time. I'd get up a little early and do 3 mock. That's it. I do 3 mocks every morning. And when you do these mocks again, initially your scores will not be great. They will not be awesome. You might be getting somewhere in the 130s, 140s, even maybe 160s, 170s. Nobody gets a perfect score to begin with, but don't be disheartened by it. Analyze, and after the paper, analyze your paper very, very carefully. Over here, the CUET mock website is very, very good because they already do the analysis for you, but make sure you look at that analysis properly. See what you've left, which concepts are you struggling with, see what you've already done. And that is very, very important because you've already started mocks in September. You've got plenty of time. You don't have a lot of time pressure right now. Then after Jan, or say end of December to Jan, I stopped focusing on CUET and only boards. And during my board prep, I made sure that whatever was going to come for boards was obviously also coming for CUET. And I made sure that what I was doing was done in such a way that it will work for CUET also, because boards gives you a lot of time. So over there, make sure that the topics that are included in boards, you do them really, really well, so that it will also work for CUET. In the last 1 month, what I personally did was I did the topics that are deleted from boards. I did those really well, and mocks. So many mocks. Then again, in the last 15 days, that is, I had time from 1st of May to 15th of May. In the last 15 days, I again went through the portion. And this time I read carefully, started looking for tinier details more carefully. And yeah, and then I appeared for the exam. I personally, NCRT is your god. Study only and only NCRT. For boards, economics, it's okay if you use another book. I used Radha Bahuguna. But I think for CUET or even in general boards, NCRT is the most important. And you have to read it very, very carefully, line by line. Even the tiniest thing can become a question. So read it carefully. And the one thing when you're reading NCRT, and the thing that I used to do was I used to make my own questions. So I would say read half a page or maybe read a whole page. And then I would start thinking, what are the MCQs that can be made out of this? So that somewhere helps you get used to the whole MCQ format also. But NCRT. For CUET, there is no point in the supplementary books. The content of the mocks it's good. It's very good to begin with. So it was one of the first mocks that I started doing initially. And it's quite good. And the explanations, they're quite helpful. So you should read them, obviously. Just I told you before also, when you are after giving the mock, what's most important is analyzing the mock properly. So for that, you have to read the explanation properly. And I think even with the explanation, also go back to NCRT and find it that where was this concept in NCRT? How did I miss it? What did I miss? Make sure you do that also.